The Middle Ages, a time of knights, castles, and legendary battles. But beyond the romance of chivalry and warfare, myths about medieval life has endured for centuries. Many of them are exaggerated, distorted, or outright false. But what if I told you some of the most unbelievable medieval myths were actually true? Today, we uncover 6 medieval myths that weren't just legends, they were reality. Boiling oil was really used in siege warfare. One of the most iconic images in medieval warfare is defenders hurling boiling oil onto invaders scaling the castle walls. Many assume that this was just a Hollywood exaggeration, but historical records confirm that defenders did, in fact, use scalding liquids. Though oil wasn't the most common choice, due to its expense, castle defenders often opted for boiling water, quicklime, or even heated sand, which could slip into armor and burn flesh. The pain inflicted was excruciating, making it a brutally effective form of defense. People really did die from rat-infested dungeons. The idea of prisoners wasting away in rat-infested dungeons might seem like another overblown myth, but it was all too real. In many medieval fortresses, dungeons were little more than damp pits carved into rock. Food was scarce, sanitation was non-existent, and vermin thrived in darkness. Prisoners left for long periods often faced slow death, not just from starvation, but from disease-ridden rats that fed on the weak and dying. Some accounts even suggest that rulers used the rat torture method, where a starving rat was placed in a container against the victim's body and forced to burrow through the flesh. The medieval battlefield was more organized than you think. Medieval battles are often depicted as free-for-alls where knights and foot soldiers simply hack away at each other. In reality, these battles were highly organized. Commanders used strict formation, tactical maneuvers, and complex battle strategies to gain the upper hand. The English longbow at Agincourt, for example, were positioned strategically to funnel the enemy into killing zones. Similarly, mounted knights were often deployed in carefully timed charges rather than reckless solo duels. Discipline and coordination often determined the victor of medieval warfare. Amidst all the battles and sieges, there was one thing medieval lords and knights treasured: rich, flavorful feasts. And what better way to honor the tradition than the Armored Kingdom syrup? Whether you crave the nutty depths of toasted pecan, the comforting spice of apple cinnamon, the bold richness of black walnut, or the sweet tang of peach, these syrups bring a taste of medieval indulgence straight to your table. True warriors know that even in times of war, there must always be a moment for feasting. Now, let us continue our journey through medieval truth. Medieval people really threw waste into the streets.
Get cracking. This poo isn't gonna shift itself.
It's a common belief that medieval streets were filthy, with waste being thrown from windows into the street below. And while some medieval towns had designated dumping area or basic drainage system, in many places, the myth is entirely true. Without modern plumbing, people often disposed of waste in the most convenient way: out the window. Streets in cities like London and Paris became cesspools of filth, leading to widespread disease and unbearable stench. Some laws attempted to regulate this, but enforcement was inconsistent, and the problem persisted for centuries. Knights really did follow code of chivalry. The idea that medieval knights lived by a strict code of honor isn't just a poetic storytelling. It was a reality. Chivalric codes dictated how knights should behave in battle, in court, and in daily life. Knights swore oath to loyalty, pledged to protect the weak, and followed religious principle in warfare. However, the reality wasn't always so noble. Some knights ignored these rules when it suited them, plundering towns and betraying allies when opportunity arose. Chivalry was an ideal, but it wasn't always practiced. The myth of the maiden's belt. Chastity belts were real. The chastity belt is often dismissed as a myth, yet historical artifacts and writings suggest that they did exist, though not in the ways most people think. Rather than being widespread tools of oppression, some chastity belts were likely used for short-term security, such as protecting noble women from assault while traveling. Others may have been symbolic, gifted to wives as a reminder of fidelity. While exaggerated in legend, these devices were real in some form, proving that even the strangest medieval myths often have a kernel of truth. Closing thoughts on medieval myths that were actually true. History is filled with myth, but as you've seen today, many of them were far from fiction. The Middle Ages were as brutal as they were fascinating, and the truths hidden in legend only makes them more compelling. What other medieval myths do you think might be real? Let me know in the comment section down below. And remember, whether you're a scholar, a warrior, or a lover of great feasts, the Armored Kingdom has something for you. Until next time, honor the past, feast well, and march forever forward. As always, remember to be brave, to be courageous, and most of all, my great kingdom, remember to believe in yourself. The journey continues. I yield the floor. For the kingdom. For the kingdom. For the kingdom.